Why is tomb sweeping so important for the Chinese people? Can you talk a little bit about the custom?
Sure. Thank you, Roee, for having me. This is such an important occasion in the Chinese culture. It's in our tradition. It's part of who we are. Because we, Chinese people, we believe that our deceased loved ones, even though they parted here on this earth physically, they're very much with us in spirit. So each year on this day, Tomb Sweeping Day, we pay our respect. We visit our loved ones, deceased loved ones at their gravesite. We clean their graves, we bring flowers, we bring offerings, we burn incense, and we bring food and dishes to pay our respect. It's very much part of the culture. For generations, people have been doing this. Qingmingjie has been around for about 2,500 years. So it's very much ingrained in our culture, in our blood, in our tradition. It's part of the ritual.
And as we heard there, COVID-19 is obviously changing that. Some places turning to online tomb sweeping. Have there been any benefits to virtual tomb sweeping compared to the real life experience?
Yes, it has benefits. Unfortunately, under the circumstances, people can't really physically show up. As your report has suggested, people either have to make appointments to show up in person. But for most people, they are not able to show up in person physically, so they're doing these virtual tomb sweeping. They're making appointments online for these cloud tomb sweeping virtual ceremonies, if you will. The benefits are there, but it offers some comfort. You really can't compare that experience with something in person physically. I recall many years ago, I went home to China to visit my grandmother's tomb with my mother, my aunt, my uncle, and my brother, and we had an experience there in person. We got to talk to her, my beloved grandmother who raised us. We got to clean her tomb. We brought flowers, we brought offerings, and here's a picture, if you will. I could just show you briefly. And this is my mother with my aunt and my uncle at my grandmother's tomb site. And this is me, a younger Dottie with my brother in front of my grandma's grave site. So that's what people used to do in person to be able to have that physical experience, to show our respect, to pay our respect.
Dottie, does the fact that you were in Washington and now there is this effort to do virtual online tomb sweeping allow you this year, next year, to visit your grandmother's tomb without going to China? Is that a positive change at least?
Yes, it is a positive change in that regard, as we all are under this crisis, and unfortunately, it prevents us from showing up in person. It gives me some comfort, for sure, yes. But if I could, I would rather go there to see her in person.
Dottie, what we're seeing obviously is what's happening in China. Those are the pictures that we're showing, these bookings for tomb sweeping and all these online efforts. What about the ethnically Chinese community outside of China? How are they dealing with all of this during lockdown in many parts around the world on this day?
For the rest of us in overseas countries and the Chinese diaspora, we are following the guidelines of the local countries, the local governments, and if we are locked down, we can't really go. So we will have to use our own ways to memorialize our loved ones, to pay our respect, and it's something that's in our heart we have to hold dear. I'm not aware of any online bookings and virtual appointments, that sort of thing in overseas yet, but I think this is a tradition we must carry on in our hearts and in our mind to make sure we are connected with our deceased loved ones.